everyone, and welcome to the Grumpy Dads. We're back again, and before we go on any further, I want you to hop off, just hit like, hit subscribe, and then put us back on full screen. But we really need you to do that. We want your traffic coming. We've got loads of good stuff, and you want to hear about it. I'm going to welcome, as always, Chris.
Hello, mate. And this week, really excited about this. Our first TikTok guest. It's Aid. How you doing, Aid?
Hey, yeah, very well, thank you. How are you guys doing? All right?
Not too bad.
I'm
knackered.
knackered.
Now the kids are actually asleep, and I can.
I'm knackered. I've been doing gardening all day. I got a blister on my thumb, green-fingered blister. But
see, I've got black fingers. Anything I garden dies except weeds, which seem to do really fucking well, and I can't do anything.
Right?
About
Yeah,
it.
we're suffering from I'm suffering from the when you move in somewhere and you think, oh, I'll mow the garden next week. I'll mow the garden. I'll do it in a couple of, and then you don't weed and you don't mow the garden. And anyway, then when you finally do get around to mowing and weeding and all that shit, it's everywhere. And so now, we've got. Every time I go out in the garden, there's another little cluster of stinging nettles, and I'm like, "Fuck!" It's going to cost me about $5 or $6 grand, I think, to relay all this shit.
I worry I'm going to go out there one day and mow the wrong spot, and a Bengal tiger is going to jump out and just attack me.
Yeah, you're going to pull back stinging nettles, and there'll be that dude from Jurassic Park, like, clever girl.
It's this clown in a drain.
Yeah.
Swim around here.
Right, we're going to kick off with Icebreaker antics.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever watched an episode, but I will explain the game. First-time viewers as well. I scour the net looking for 1-star reviews. You have got to guess the product based on the reviews.
Ooh.
Duncan will be on your team, and you only get one guess per review.
Wow.
You'll pick it up.
Bit stingy, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so first review. Really difficult to grip. 5 mins in, and the sweating is awful.
Difficult to grip, and 5 minutes in, the sweating is awful.
What product could I...
Immediately, I'm thinking Gigolo.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Has he been trawling the escort sites?
No, I haven't been trolling the escort sites. This one, I will narrow it down, is Amazon. Not that narrows it down, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Amazon do gigolos, but yeah.
I'm gonna move from gigolo to dildo, because you grip that and then maybe your sweating might kick. Maybe this says more about my dirty mind.
My sweating.
We know you've got a vibrator. Don't go there.
It's a massager, and we've already been through this. Okay, we've already been through.
We accidentally bought a Doxy one.
I did. And I sent you the screenshots of why I thought it great for sports. It said on there, great for sports.
I got to say, it was great. I was looking through the Prime Day deals, and it popped up on there.
Okay, so it is not a dildo, Aid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go screwdriver.
Screwdriver. It's a good guess, but it's not correct. We'll go on to our second review. Nice snug fit, and the straps are strong, but why didn't they make it breathable?
Right. This is not this is not a fortunate round for me, because every time you say this stuff, it puts my mind into something filthy, and I swear to God,
that's every round he's ever done. Trust me.
Right.
Every single one.
It's got to be some kind of shoe. Straps, great fit, breathable, so maybe they'd be a bit tight, not airy enough around the shoe. I'll say it's a pair of shoes.
A pair of shoes is not correct.
Oh, no, it's not really what I was. I was thinking fishing trousers. The
yeah,
a bit sweaty, but it's you wouldn't grip with fishing trousers, so it can't be that.
Do you want to hear where my mind immediately went to when you said this, though? There's an account on Twitter that I happened across purely by accident, and it was some guy who got off by being restricted and wearing one of these gimp suits, and he had a gimp mask on. and then some sort of plunger over his face, and then this like robot was like wanking him off. He was saying, like, on his tweet, he was like, biggest turn on ever. And I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? And why is he putting this stuff on Twitter? Like, and anyway, so as you're saying, like, oh,
I was like, why is he doing it? Why is he doing it? Why post it on Twitter?
Well, I was like, this looks really, disturbing. And yeah, you have to wonder why, like, A, why get into that, and B, why put it on social media, and
C, would it be able to fit in your shed?
Right. Yeah. And, is it breathable?
Is it breathable? Duncan, we're still waiting for your answer.
Oh man, I'm stumped on this one. I'm gonna go for a pair of pliers.
Pair of pliers is not correct.
Right. No.
Good guess. Third review. Feels like a sweaty mess. Can't wear them again because they stink and they turn my hands into prunes.
Oh, gardening gloves.
No.
Oh, gloves of some sort.
Gloves of some sort. I think I'm going to give it. It's the third review, so it's the last one. It's goalie gloves.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Once,
I hoped it was going to be gardening gloves because you've hurt your hands. Right? That's why it's fresh in your head. You were like, oh, fuck it, this will do.
I was actually wearing gloves at the time as well. Okay, we go on to our second product. Really loud, looks lovely, but it literally shakes and vibrates.
My wife.
Really loud, looks lovely. Oh,
You're lucky you are doing this out in your man's shed thing.
That's actually kind of good for Duncan, to be fair. Looks lovely, literally shakes and vibrates. Okay, no, that's all right. I take that as a compliment for her. That's
That's really loud. Looks great. Shakes and vibrates. Really loud. Washing machine?
No, it's not.
Dishwasher.
No, I'm afraid not. We'll move on to our second review. It does the job, but if I use it in the morning, it wakes the entire house.
Coffee machine.
No.
Ooh.
It's not a coffee machine.
It's some sort of kitchen-y thing, though, isn't it? Smoothie maker.
No, it's not a smoothie maker. Third review. It's loud, but the lime scale is impossible to clean.
A kettle.
Kettle's right.
Oh, it's so close with coffee machine.
I know. I did think about it, and then I thought, it'd be difficult.
Yeah.
We're on 2 stars so far. We are on to our third product, first review.
Can I just say the level of class we attract now? Normally, people are just like, he's tucked away in a proper cabin with a glass of Sancerre.
Just brought the class up.
Yeah.
It's just, we're edging up here.
I was thinking how funny it is that immediately we went to coffee machine before kettle. Like, what does that say? When was the last time I used a kettle? Ugh.
Okay. Third product, first review. It's like holding thunder. It's white knuckle nonsense. Had to ask to borrow the neighbours.
Garden trimmer.
Ooh.
I'm going to give you that.
Hey!
It's a hedge trimmer. It's a hedge trimmer.
Congrats, Duncan.
It is. 2 final reviews on that. Hot knife through butter. With even the bushiest of areas, but useless. I'm done in 5 minutes. It's not worth it. We'll go through the thickest of hedges, but the noise is deafening. Okay, we move on to our next stage of Icebreaker antics, which is crazy questions, random questions that we just want your opinion on. First question is, worst thing you've eaten out of politeness?
Me and my girlfriend went to this restaurant in Guildford. I'll try and keep this brief. But it was our first date night out after we had our son. And so super excited to go out, just to be out the fucking house after baby comes along.
Yeah.
Is big deal. We go out to this restaurant. We looked weirdly, we were looking for 5-star reviews and shit online. And we found this place and there's a couple of dodgy reviews on there, but we were like, I'm sure it's fine. So we walk into this restaurant. They sat us upstairs in a separate room to everyone else. So it was like they looked at us and they were like, get these fuckers away from everyone. They sat us upstairs and there was no music and it was just us. So it was this silent, empty room and these 2 sort of, formerly excited new parents now just like sat. Anyway, I was like, well, I'm sure the food will be right, and so I ordered. I think it was like lamb chops, and the waitress was fucking so weird as well, like an alien. Like she was like an alien pretending to be a human. She was like sort of taking our order, but like she had this weird thing with her eyebrows where, like, let's say that you, Chris, are me and you're ordering, right? Then she would look at me and go like I was like swivel it. Like by the end of the meal, I was in hysterics. I couldn't control it any longer. But the lamb, not shanks, but like lamb cutlets, it was that turned up. I was so excited about eating lamb in a restaurant, and these fucking things turned up, and they were burnt to a crisp with no meat on them. But I just didn't have it in because I knew if I complained about the lamb, I would have exploded about everything else. Like, we're new parents and you sat us up here like there's no fucking music. So I just sat there politely nibbling on my charred lamb cutlets that I hated. And then like both of us came out of there so bummed out. We were like, that was the worst day ever.
Did. I'm wondering what you must have done something for them to sit you upstairs, no music, to burn your dinner. Either it was something you did in school eyebrows. And they turned out to be the owner and went, there's the fucker. I'm going to get my own back now. Kick him upstairs.
You know what, though? I left them a shitty 1-star review. I did. I was so petty. I was just like...
Don't say that. You'll use it on next week's Icebreaker reviews.
Yeah. AIDS reviews on cutlets. Duncan, what's yours? What's the worst thing you've eaten out of politeness?
When I first moved to the UK, and I had to move in with my wife was living with her parents, so I had to move in with them while we were sorting stuff out. And her dad had made this meal, and it was like Tigger Pritchard had cooked. It's all I can say. It was chicken, good, right? Chicken, and cheese, definitely good. Chicken and cheese, good combination.
Sure.
And banana.
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
I fuck knows. I honestly have no idea.
Welcome to the UK.
Did you think it was like a British tradition? Rock off the plane. They could have served you like deep fried chocolate coated in shit. I guess that's what they eat here.
But I swear, they all sat there reading it. It wasn't like, he's eating it. He's eating it. You're eating it. It was like they're all sitting there enjoying it. My wife's just like,
I don't get
to get through it,
I don't understand that. There's one that I tried in Wales and actually turned out to be quite nice, and that was mashed potato mixed with what's it called, black pudding.
That would be nice. Yeah,
I didn't think it would be, but it kind of turned it slightly like what black pudding looks like a almost dark purpley color.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this? I just wanted mashed potato, and you taste it, and obviously the salt and butter, and obviously that small taste. It's like an aftertaste of the black pudding. And I still make it. It was such a good find.
I'm going to try that one.
Oh, it's amazing. My dad came over for lunch, and I decided to do it him. And he was like, "What's this?" He goes, "Is this cabbage or something mashed up?" And I said, "No, it's mashed, but I want you to taste it first, and then I'll tell you what it is." If I said what it is, he wouldn't taste it.
You're right.
He had it, and he was like, "Oh, that's nice. That's nice, that." And he goes, "What is it?" And then obviously I said, and he does it now as well. So it's worked out. We'll move on to our second crazy question, which is: when was a time you were calm, but inside you were going crazy?
I know it's a really boring answer to give to this, but my son's birth, he was all tangled up inside. I think they refer to it as like a frustrated thing, like where they get tangled up in cords and stuff. And they were sort of trying to explain to me what was going on and why they were concerned. And in my sort of simpleton, non-medical scientific mind, I was thinking, just fucking cut her open and get him out. Like, why are we even discussing this? And they were sort of, explaining stuff to me. And I was stood there listening, and it was all going in my head. And I think I could sort of understand and vaguely comprehend what they were saying, but inside I was thinking, because I've heard these horror stories of like people, like babies being born starved of oxygen, and it affects them and their parents, their families, like their whole lives. I was sort of, trying to keep it together because I didn't want to panic my girlfriend. But yeah, like inside, I was like chaos. It's like I was sort of the living embodiment of that meme, where there's the dog and there's the burning down house all around him, and he's like, "This is fine."
Duncan, what's your answer? When was a time you were calm, but inside you were going crazy?
You know what? The last election.
Good shout.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're just like, oh, we're going for another 4 years. Inside, I'm like, right, where's my gun?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to choose the same answer for that, to be fair, because I think it wasn't so much the election results. Obviously, it pissed me off. But what really pissed me off is those donkey right-wingers that came out to gloat after. And that's what really... And then you act calm because they want your reaction at this point. We'll move on because it's annoying me. What was your favourite decade and why?
2010s, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose like there's the nostalgia addict in me that wants to say, when I was like 17 to 27, but without getting too twatty about it and too sort of pretentious and emo, I don't think I was a very happy teenager or 20-something. Like I remember being out and laughing a lot and drinking a lot, and in the last part of my 20s taking a lot of drugs, but I don't remember being a particularly happy guy. And it was only when I got to 30 that was when I started doing stand-up, and that was when I first felt like I actually could be decent at something, like all right at something. And yeah, so I don't know, from 2010 right through to 2020, my life completely changed. And yeah, so for that, like I'm also, like we were talking a bit earlier about, music and how much we love it. And I was obsessed with music from the age of like 13 through to 27. And then I just left it behind completely and just like nosedived into stand-up. And I had the most fun I'd ever had. And then, I met my girlfriend and we had our kids. And yeah, like from 30 to 40, best decade so far. So I'm hoping 40 to 50 is just
kind of built on that. It still shocks me when you went 2010 to 2020, and it shocked me for a second that we've got this far, that it's 2021. There's a 10-year there.
No, doesn't it feel like when someone says, oh yeah, no, that was back in 2007. Like in my mind, that is still like 4 years ago. Like it's still in the same modern bracket.
It does. When an adult turns around and goes, oh yeah, I was born in 1999. What? Why are you 2 foot tall?
Yeah.
It's worse than that.
When you see like the odd TikTok pop up and it says like, I'm a 2002 baby. I'm like, you're fucking what? They didn't make babies. No, this is impossible. They didn't make young women in 2002.
Duncan, what's your favorite decade and why?
I can't. There's something I've loved and something I've hated about every decade. I can't really. That sounds like a really cop-out answer, but I love the 80s. I love the music at the time. I look back and cringe that I had a mullet, that kind of stuff. But I was like you're saying, I was just a social pariah at school. No one liked me. I was bullied. It was just freaking misery. And then we sort of hit the 90s, and music again was great. You just went, to Nirvana, and then you sort of turned into Foo Fighters, you had Alice in Chains. Some great bands came out and stuff like that, but I spent it as a very single.
Yeah.
And then you hit the 2000s, and that's when there's something great about every decade, but there's also something that's really but you know, like the last 10 years, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year.
Congrats, mate.
You know, it's there's so much good, but then it's been a very hard time as well. You know, dealing with things like, you know, learning the ropes of being a parent of an autistic child and mental health issues that have come from all sorts of things. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's always a balancing act for me. I think you just got to choose to look at the positive. And you know, I sound very pathetic there, but yeah.
No, it's good.
I think
Next on Dr. Phil.
I miss the 80s and 90s because I feel looking back then, it was almost carefree. Nothing was taken too seriously within my life. And I miss that, and I miss the energy I used to have.
It's quite a
good time.
Sort of politically, musically innocent time, wasn't it?
It was. It was so nice. And originality as well, which we've discussed before. Originality is that people were coming out of the woodwork before science got involved, and people started manipulating everything. You had original films, you had original music, you had original everything. And then obviously it got marketed, and yeah, I do miss the 80s and 90s, but 2 kids, wife, I mean, I can't knock the decade where they came along, so because she'd kill me. So cut that bit. It's fine. She never watches. Right, we're moving on to the main part of the podcast. As always, we want to thank you for joining us today, Aid.
Sure.
It's the guests make this show, so we're really sort of thankful for you joining us. I want to discuss TikTok. That is kind of your main platform. Am I right in saying that?
Kind of. I sort of got into it by accident. I downloaded TikTok about 3 years ago when it was still pretty new, because I was in a little comedy troupe, if you like, on Vine way back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And I think I got to about 5 or 6K followers on Vine, and I loved it. I thought like the 6-second video thing was really like quite a big restriction, so it really challenged you to think of ideas that could fit into that little time window. And then they canned it. They like Twitter bought it and killed it off. And nothing ever really like filled that gap. And then somebody mentioned this thing called TikTok, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a look. And I think I've still got my first 2 vids up there. When I'm on holiday in Malta, like cracking a terrible joke or something. And I uploaded these videos, and I thought, like, I'll just see what they do. And then they didn't do anything. They, fell into a black hole, and I just thought, oh, well, this is shit. So I left it. And then it was only a few, like maybe 2 or 3 months ago now, that somebody was saying something about it, and I was like, well, okay, I'll give it another look. So I started doing like just little stupid funny videos again, and then I did something about Harry and Meghan, I think it was, and it fucking caught fire, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is new. And then I thought, I'll do another one about the royal family, and then that exploded as well, and I was like, this is interesting, because all I'm doing is, I don't even have to be funny. Like, all I'm doing is just talking about, like, concepts and angles. And then I thought, wonder if this works on Brexit as well. So I did another one like on Brexit, and then that exploded. And I was like, this is fucking easy. Like, I could do this today. So I was talking to, there's a guy who's quite big on there now called Rob Mayhew, and he does like work sketches. So every single one of his videos pretty much is about office culture and working in a design agency and marketing and that sort of stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, no, it's legit. Like, put some time into it. Just keep doing what you're doing now. And that Phil guy, he's pretty big. He does like videos from Surrey. And like he's always walking through a field. And he was like, he like messaged me and or commented, sorry. And then he and I did a live, and he was saying like, just carry on doing what you're doing. And yeah, I don't know. It just sort of like, it was never my intention to sort of grow an account on TikTok. It was more, to be honest, and you might have picked up on the fact that every one of my videos says like, check out my podcast on it. I was just like, I'll use this, I'll grow an account on it to like, 20K or 50K, and I'll just keep hiving off viewers to check out the podcast. Because if you like, my take on it was, a lot of people can grow an account on TikTok, but they are also very trigger happy with killing these accounts. So if I say the wrong thing, and I've been suspended like twice already, if you say the wrong thing, they'll gut your account and then you're fucked again. So I was like, I'll just keep hiving people off to YouTube, to the podcast, to iTunes, to Spotify. And then that way, if I can just build a sort of solid bed across all the platforms.
What's the biggest annoyance and issue you faced with TikTok?
I'd say like being suspended for a week was hugely frustrating, because what people do on there is they politically disagree with you, which is fine. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing all day, every day, is disagreeing vocally with people.
Yeah.
But they disagree with you, and then they attempt to get your entire account shut down. And the way that they do that is they run a bot that reports sequentially, say 10 or 20 or 30 of your videos, all one by one, bam, 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 bam. And the way that the TikTok algorithm, in as far as I can understand it, works is if someone is reported successively in a short space of time, they will take no chances and just pull your account, and then it's up to you to appeal it. So it gets very frustrating, because it's like, oh fuck, like I've been bot bombed again.
Bot bombed.
Yeah. And then you've got to justify, like you have to appeal it, and then you've got to wait. There's this sort of, the anxiety of like, well, what if they uphold this like report, Yeah. So it's always in the back of my mind now, like, is it okay if I drop the F-bomb on there? Is it okay if I... But my counter argument would be, why is that more upsetting / offensive than the subject matter that I'm talking about? You should be angry about this individual who is in this position of power and influence, who is obviously very corrupt and incredibly incompetent. That, like, direct your anger there, and then afterwards we can sort of talk about disciplining me for my naughty words.
I was at a church once and I heard a great talk. This guy giving us and he said, right now, in the next 30 seconds, I don't know the actual figure, it was the old, almost like the old Bono used to, clap every time that's someone dying. And, it's just like all these people, all these kids overseas, they're dying, they're starvation, and you don't give a fuck. And I was like, and he said, the saddest part is that you're more upset about the fact that I just said fuck than you are about the fact that all these kids have died in the last 30 seconds. And it was like,
is that a priest?
Yeah, it was a minister. Well, it was a ministry. Yeah, it was
best minister ever. I would have been.
That's a good prime example. People are more uncomfortable about feeling uncomfortable than they are the subject matter in hand. It's exactly what you said. And the priest.
Did you see that when Bono was doing that, because he used to do it at a few concerts, and he was doing the clap thing, that's someone dying. And someone dying, and there's on YouTube somewhere, and you just hear a guy shout out from like the back of the concert hall, "Stop fucking clapping, then!"
Who was the blonde? I'm sure she's on YouTube. I'm sure you've interviewed at Aid. Who's the blonde lady that does political?
Supatansky.
Yes, yeah.
I
don't think you need to worry about your language when it comes to her TikToks.
Yeah,
I've heard some of hers, and I think you're quite tame compared to what the descriptions she comes up with.
That's her sort of what's the word? Like her sort of speciality, her MO, if you like, is she's
creative.
Yeah, she writes her own swear phrases, kind of thing, and it's great. Like I remember saying, I hope she takes in the unlikely event that she bothers to listen to me talking about this right now. But I remember having a conversation with my dad and my brother like years ago, where we were talking about like our sort of perfect woman or whatever, and I said I said, I want to be with a woman who's like, who can swear like a sailor, but like creatively. So it's like fun and funny and a bit inventive, and a bit like, and yet she has that in spades. And I'm not for a second suggesting that like, that this is anything weird or creepy, but I'm just saying it's a very rare skill, and I'm hugely appreciative of her content. I think it's great.
I think this is about a minute long, and we can upload this and copyright it. It's our very first TikTok. Let's give it a shout out.
Our christening for TikTok is right
Yeah.
there.
Like, I'm never coming on your podcast again.
Who would you say is the least deserving of fame on TikTok?
When I first got back into TikTok, my whole feed, I assume based only on the fact that I'm male, was like young women, I assume women / girls dancing. I get it. I understand that like young women want to dance and have fun and everything. But I also feel like sometimes when you're scrolling down your For You page and then something pops up like that, and then it's some girl dancing and she's got like, 500,000 likes. And like sometimes I'm curious, I'll tap into the comments just to see what is this engagement here? Because it's literally just like a girl standing there going and more power to you. If you like to dance, God bless you. Like, carry on dancing. We all love a dance, right? But then when you like crack into the comments, and it's just page after page after reams and reams of like weird 40, 50-year-old men with like pictures with their wife and kids. Their profile picture is
not on TikTok.
But it's like them going, "You're so beautiful, babe." Like, and I'm just like, oh my God, you understand that TikTok's going to get hacked at some point, and all your comments are going to get sprayed all over the internet. Your wife is going to type in your email address and search what your comment history is. She's going to see all the weird simpy vibes that you've been sending. Oh, it's so
I love that phrase, simp. It is. I only heard it through TikTok. I think, the girls on there, they know exactly what they're doing. And I do hate the ones that sort of dance away. Check out my Instagram, which is also connected to my OnlyFans, which is connected to everything else. So it's kind of like, I see what you're doing. And the guys are idiots for even entertaining this. That they aren't going to see what you put in. Stop it. The one that I do think is bad is, I think it's a gent called Kirby Lane. Have you seen him?
No, not familiar.
Yeah, so basically he's the guy. You would have seen his videos, I'm sure of it. So basically he will sort of stitch a TikTok where they've done something different or they've made something simple difficult, and Kirby Lane does it properly and then goes, and he gets millions of likes. There was one where, and you can tell the one he stitched, the guy was making a joke, and they had a mug and a phone charger.
Yeah.
And what he did is he cut the charger and then went like this and then taped them back together.
Right.
Obviously a joke. Kirby Lane then goes, puts it like that, undoes it, and then puts it back together and then goes like that. That got, I think, 15 million likes.
Really?
Yeah. Then maybe you can try something like that if you want to.
It's unbelievable. This is the case though, because I've been coming. The kids love watching YouTube, and I've been sort of, we're on YouTube. I'm not having a go at YouTube, but there's this sense that they'd rather watch YouTube than they would normal kids shows, CBBC, CITV, whatever. It's all right. They can go on it, but it's like, and there's shows that my son will love on there, like Ben 10 and stuff like that. But he'd much rather sit and watch some random family pissing about, doing something stupid and annoying. And you've sort of got that distilled with TikTok down to it's now 1 minute episodes of.
It's bad.
For the larger part, just like people dancing. What is this doing to entertainment now? Like, there's a good dumbing down. Have you ever seen Idiocracy?
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's that whole beginning section of Idiocracy where the smart parents now, we're just going to wait till bit more financially stable before we had kids, because otherwise, we were not the best thing. And it's like it sort of goes through the years until they're old people. We just never happened. It wasn't the right time. And, the financial landscape was, and you just got these idiot people who are like trailer trash idiots, and it's just popping them out here, there, and everywhere. And it's like, I worry that that's what's happening. We're dumbing down society, and when we come close, there was almost a porn star as a president. He was, he had his own videos.
I see them as sort of like different products. I know what you mean. Like it is sometimes it's easy to sort of lean into this caricature of kids, these kids today.
And that's what I don't want to do. But
yeah,
I do.
But I think like if you look at
but
the cliche is that people don't have an attention span anymore, and they just want the quick adrenaline hit of a 1 minute video or a 3 minute YouTube video. But I think the medium of podcasts, for example, that sort of contradicts that, because it's like people never used to listen to a 2-hour conversation or 3-hour conversation before, but I could quite happily listen to hardcore history or an episode of Joe Rogan if somebody interesting is on, or Grumpy Dads, right? So like there's ways and means that you engage, I think, people's attention span for longer. Having said that, movies like cinema movies nudging towards 3 hours long, I feel like you really are fucking testing my boundaries now. Like,
oh man, what is it with Michael Bay? That guy needs to learn to finish a film.
Yeah.
He's got to use up all his fireworks first, hasn't he? He's spent like millions on them first. And
it's like, dude, it's like the guy who designed the new Honda Civic. It's like, stop designing. You've overdone it. It's like, enough. The film should have ended an hour ago. It would have been okay.
I'd like to read like some sort of academic study on why movies are so much long. Like, is it something to do with the economics of cinemas, like where they're like fewer people are going to the cinemas, and so we stretch the movies out longer?
I think it's directorial ego.
Do you?
I really do.
Yeah.
You look at, I like Tarantino films.
Yeah,
I do.
But there's like, even in that, Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
There's a scene with her walking down a corridor. That's like 3 minutes long. I think part of the problem is that they're competing with series now, where series are really getting good. TV's shifted into a really quality media.
Yeah. Well, it's another example of people, like, they don't have a short attention span for something that's truly stimulating and is going to take them on a journey, right? People happily sat through how many seasons of Breaking Bad and The Wire, and
I think the draw for the longer movies, say I wanted to see, say, a sequel to something that would say the original was a longish length. I'd be more inclined and more excited to see the sequel if it was sort of longer. Like, I'm getting 2.5 hours of this. This is going to be great. If I say had 2 hours and 15 minutes and the sequel's an hour and a half, I'm going to be like, that sucks.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the drawing, and I love I love Tarantino. It's the writing, it's the acting,
the dialogue in a Tarantino movie,
and I'm kind of used to that. I love seeing Tarantino movies that come out and you're like, 2 hours 30 minutes. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So that's the draw for me. Whether that's the reason they do it or not, I don't know, but I certainly look forward to it whether it's longer.
So I love David Fincher films.
Yeah.
And you could accuse him of that sort of directorial masturbation in a way, but I find with his films, he times it perfectly. They're never too much. They end effectively. They can be quite slow going. Like Seven's a slow film to watch, but you're so on edge from what is taking place.
That's the thing, is it's sort of, it really is rooted in the skill of the director, isn't it? In terms of, are you still feeling engaged after 90 minutes? Do you feel like you're on a journey? That's
what separates the Spielbergs of the world, because Spielberg's the master of creating that tension. He can make a long film like Schindler's List, and you're riveted the whole time. Michael Bay makes it, and you're like, I can't do it.
such loathing of Michael Bay.
I really like him. And then they made Bad Boys 2. And there was like the worst line in movie history in that film.
What's that?
You look like you're about to do
Boys
something
2.
stupid. I'm in. It's like, oh, and it's like another 45 minutes of pointless bombing and fire.
I liked Bad Boys. I thought it was good fun.
I love Bad Boys. That was part of the reason why I was like, hey.
There is a skill that some directors hold, and then that's having sort of a normal length movie, but it feels longer. And one movie, the last one that I can remember is the movie Riddick, the final movie. And he kind of survives on the planet, befriends this tiny puppy, and has to get through this cave, and then obviously it's kind of like the movie starts now, and it's a normal length movie, but it feels so much longer. It's almost like it's in 2 parts. It's a real skill.
It is. It's down to it's the art of direction. It's why I got so disillusioned with George Lucas.
Yeah,
because he was smart at the beginning. It's like he made Star Wars. It was only successful really because his partner at the time re-edited the whole thing, so it actually had some flow. He thought back, I'm really not a great director, so I'm going to palm this off to other people. They can do the direction. I'll keep coming up with the concepts and make lots of money off toys. Then he made the prequel trilogy, and it was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If you can't get Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman, and Ewan McGregor to act, there's something wrong with the director.
Yeah. I remember thinking that about, like, so when they were doing all the prequels, and not too far off the same sort of period where they did that Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Oh man!
George Lucas also did Indy, right? And here's this guy, like, heralded, like he's Mr. Star Wars. Who doesn't love Star Wars? And then there's Indiana Jones, which was like my favorite. Like I'm not a big superhero guy. I'm not really into like Superman and fucking Famous Four or famous, like all of that stuff. I find a bit fantastical. But Indy, because he's like real or like realistic, I quite like that. And so for him then to return to the fold and be like, I'm going to make a new Indy film, and it's got fucking spaceships landing.
We'll move on to politics, because that's kind of that's what you speak about on your TikTok account. I kind of know already because I follow your account on TikTok, but where do you stand in politics?
Well, I always say I sit sort of broadly in the center, maybe center left, but other people seem to insist on educating me that I'm very much a lefty. So I don't know. I mean, there's stuff that I'm very firmly in the center about. I mean, I'm quite a passionate advocate of improving your own situation, of working hard, of studying, sacrifice to improve your situation. I feel perhaps somewhat arrogantly as though I'm a testament to that, in the sense that, I mentioned earlier, like I dossed from job to job to job until I retrained, and then through retraining, I was able to change my situation and get into a much more financially comfortable scenario. And I don't really see much of a reason why not everyone, I don't think everyone can do this, but I think a huge number of people could do it if they just applied themselves, which is a very center/center right kind of attitude to take. But I think where I get off the bus of the right or right wing or whatever you want to call it, is I don't think that should be that attitude and that setup should be at the expense and cost of opportunity to others, and it shouldn't be at the expense of the most vulnerable in society. With it, like, I'm not trying to sound like a sort of bleeding heart liberal, but I'd like to think that with the context that I've just laid out, that people would understand that I'm not just being some lily-livered lefty. I'm literally saying improve your situation if you can. You should do. But that doesn't give anyone the right to then forget that there's, disabled people, there's old people, there's very young children, there's vulnerable children, there's abuse survivors, there's so many groups of people that we need to help and to protect. And I suppose where I get super lefty about it is I get very passionate/angry that the funding for these support structures and services that these people are reliant on gets slashed to fuck because some big corporation want a tax cut. that may sound somewhat cliche in the sense of like, oh, bloody, lefties always talking about corporations getting tax cuts. Well, we need to give them tax cuts to attract them to this territory. And my answer to that is always fuck them. Like if Starbucks don't have 10,000 Starbucks in London, there will be another like independent coffee shop, So I don't know. I get very progressive and lefty about things like tax avoidance and support structures and helping people. And I get very impatient with other people when they don't want to improve their own situation or don't want to sort of at least try to. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think the goalposts have been moved, say this last decade, since the Tories have taken power, that the right and the left is kind of what they call you as a liberal lefty or a snowflake or whatever? That wasn't the case back before the Tories took power, that they moved the goalposts, that you're kind of centralist. I'd see it as centralist, and I see myself as centralist, slightly left-leaning, that they would say, oh, you're a lefty, because the right is so far right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Gone, oh, you're showing compassion. What's the matter with you?
I think this is it, and I think you've hit on it there. Like you're saying, you really see yourself as kind of central, and I'd agree with you from what you said there. The problem is that if you're not so far to the right these days, anything on the way back down towards the middle or beyond it is considered left. And it's like, no, hang on, that's not right. That is not actually what the case is.
Yeah.
But there's this extreme right that's there at the moment that really makes it seem that way.
I think there's a few things that are happening. The first thing is, and I've talked a bit about this on my podcast, but there is a sort of polarization and exaggeration of both sides of the political divide. So historically, you would actually have quite boring politics. You would have people like John Major, you'd have people like Theresa May, and they're quite sort of unadventurous, not particularly curious to listen to, not stimulating, not overly articulate. And they fail spectacularly to engage people in their conversation and their causes, right? They're not passionate. They're not charismatic. Anyway, that was politics since forever. And then over the last 5 or 6 years, what's happened is you've seen this sort of this binary like polarization where both sides of it have become exaggerated caricatures. And so on the left, that took the form of Corbynism initially. The caricature of the left is that we're all, snowflakey social justice warriors who are more concerned about microaggressions and our feelings rather than the reality of, fiscal conservatism, right? And then on the right, things have exaggerated further and further to the right, where we have this sort of authoritarianism light / like a very British dictatory kind of feel to it, where you've got people like Priti Patel trying to cancel protest. You've got people like Boris Johnson trying to shut down the committees that try to apply scrutiny to his government because he doesn't like what they're going to come out and say. Yeah. So you've got this sort of pushing apart. And so, yeah, you're right. Like anyone that sits to the left of authoritarianism is seen as some sort of social justice warrior snowflake, wokey prick that you shouldn't listen to.
So it's like you have a contradictory opinion when you're a lefty,
But they don't leave it there, though. I will say out because I have seen the left and I have seen the right, and at times that they're annoying as each other. But I do think the right will go out of their way to literally destroy someone in terms of their profession, their life. They will try and take everything simply for disagreeing with them. They will dogpile you on social media. They'll contact your workplace. They will lie. They will do all these things. I think the left, they lie, or at least they heavily exaggerate. But the right, they will do it with such ease. And they've made the right. They've portrayed the right as being sort of, it's your duty, patriotism. Right. That if you're far right, you love your country, and that's what they've tried to paint it as now. I mean, Boris Johnson, he was peppered in Union Jack, swinging with his balls out through his trousers, and, with 2 Union Jack flags. And I looked at that and I thought, you look like a ridiculous pig in a helmet. But there's others out there, because they've heard this message, that they've gone, that's my prime minister. That's the guy I want.
Yeah.
I think this is it. I think social media, I think, has had a big thing to do with it, where politicians are now celebrities, and you see it on TV. Like, politicians are starting to be game show hosts and freaking, they go on reality shows and stuff like that. And you think, well, what? Something happened. I do think it's social media that's influenced it, where they've become celebrities in their own right, and so politics now has shifted from, is this the best person to be running our country right now?
It really isn't, is it?
Yeah.
How do we get to this stage, though, where we've got Boris Johnson? He's the man. He's the best man we've got in the UK to lead our country.
Yeah.
It's almost like, he'll make a great spitting image puppet. Let's just vote
this
him.
This is the other thing I was going to say is at play. So unfortunately for us, at the same time as we've had the Brexit vote and we had Trump, and now we're sort of locked in this endless culture war, is the same time that over the last decade we've had Twitter and Facebook. And I think what happens is historically, what would happen is, like, let's say, Chris, you go to the pub in 1987, right? And you come out with some nonsense. You say, like, I think the earth is flat. Well, then your mate Colin and Nigel and like some other 80s names, right, would say, like, shut the fuck up, Chris. You talk such utter shit. The world is not flat. Tell him he's fucking stupid. Like, and then everyone else would go, like, you are being dumb. You are being leave the pub dumb. Like, and you'd be ostracized.
I know this is hypothetical, mate, but this is hurting a little bit.
Right, but like it would be visceral. Like, you would hurt. You would feel like, oh shit, I better not talk that nonsense again. I felt bad last time. There'd be like quality control. Like, lunacy was sort of tempered, if you like, in the 80s and the 90s and the early part of the noughties. And what Twitter did, and arguably other social networks, was now you, Chris, go on Twitter and you say, holy shit, I just saw 3 people tweet that the earth is flat. And a couple of people like me might say, you're talking nonsense, Chris. But what if 20 other people retweet you and say, I fucking told you, this guy gets it as well. And then 100 people retweet that and then quote tweet and they like you. And suddenly you think, fuck, I have a point. I'm listened to.
It's a British trait that I found as well. A lot of people are idiots. And what they really love more than anything, and they've kind of piggybacked on this new anti-mask, anti-COVID, is that they love to feel like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That, like, they've got information that I'm telling you for the first time that is true. They love to feel important in that way. They love that feeling where they can go up to someone and go, I'm going to tell you something that you don't know.
Yeah.
That's so British. That is so British.
It's like there's this doctor with 3 PhDs and all she's done is studied virology her entire fucking life. And you have
it's the argument with your wife where you suddenly realise you're wrong.
Yeah.
But you can't back down because the ramifications are far greater. You have to win the argument at all costs.
I'm just going to say this in the secure, safe knowledge that also my girlfriend will never listen to this. But I would say that it is she who will not back down. And I'll give you an example of this, right? And if she does listen to this, she'll fucking hate that I brought this up. But we were driving once to go meet my dad. We're driving down, I think it was the M3, and there's a turning off the M3 where you need to be in this lane over here to get off, right? And I'm aware of that. I sort of see the signs. I'm fucking driving, right? So I know which way I'm going and which lane I need to be in. I feel empowered that I know this.
I'm getting PTSD just hearing this.
Right. So I'm driving down and I'm like, oh, I think we need to be in that lane, like, to come off. And she's like, no, you just stay in this lane. It's fine. Like, you just carry on. I was like, are you sure? And she goes, yeah, no, it's fine. Just stay in this lane. I was like, all right, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, I fucking know this. I know I need to be in that left lane. But I'm just like, all right, okay. So, like, carry on driving. Then we get up to the point where it becomes so super obvious to a blind man that we should have taken the lane that I'd said. And at that point, I'm like, oh, we should have been in that lane. Oh, and then she's like, no, it's like, it's just like this awkward fumble of words. And I was like, oh God, I feel so awkward. And she's like, no, because it's actually, it was like because the sign back there said the thing. And I was like, and it was such a moment of clarity for me, guys. I was like, oh my God, you literally can't, this is so obvious that we should have been in that lane. How am I ever going to know if you're telling me the truth?
The best, one of the highlights of my life was winning an argument against my wife with this, because she was going on and on about, and she said, I'm smarter than you. And it was sort of banter, but it was like, you're not smarter than me. I am smarter than you. So I can prove you're not smarter than me. It's like, really? What then? Come on. I said, well, look what you've married and look what I married. And she was stuck because she could argue, in which case she was saying that she was not a catch. or she could just really go, and I've won. And you can see the battle in her mind.
That is genius. That is genius. There's no way for her to get out. I was racking my brain as you were saying it, and I was thinking, what is he going to say to win this one?
Yeah.
That is absolutely brilliant. She has to punch herself to win the argument. No one wants to punch themselves.
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We want you to just stop now, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell so that you know we've got new content coming up. Lots of great interviews coming up. I'm going to thank, as always, Chris.
Thank you, mate. And a huge thank you to Aid for joining us this week. Thank you, mate.
No worries. Yeah. Thanks very much, guys.
It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Please do stay safe. Leave some comments if something's interested you in the episode. Do talk about it in the comments. We'll be replying to comments, and may even mention on the show in the next episode. We will see you again on the next episode. In the meantime, stay safe.